So thank you very much, everyone, for coming along to our 200th virtual staff room. It's lovely to see so many faces. Really pleased you could all make it. Hopefully some more will join us as we carry on. You have the chat, as always. If you want to pop any questions in there, we will deal with them as and when we're able. And I'm delighted to be able to welcome Anna Artemyeva from Google, who is going to kick us off. And this is the first of a series of sessions in the virtual staff room, which are called 10 things ... and with a kind of an open ending to allow people to reflect on whatever they think is important. And Anna is going to kick off that new series for us. So thank you. Over to Anna.
Thanks a lot, Paul. And I'm really honored to be opening this virtual staff room where we are celebrating milestone being 200 staff rooms done in a year. Congratulations to all for surviving. So my name is Anna. I'm Google for Education head for UK and Ireland, and I'm really glad that we also have a lot of other people from other countries present here today. So let me do that. So as Paul said, we are discussing 10 things, and I will share with you my 10 things. 10 things that I think was the best thing to do, 10 things that we must not lose, things that we must never do again, what we can improve, what learners want to continue, what educators now love, and what educators must adopt in future, what made me smile, what made me mad, and what we or the sector should do next. And this is just my reflection on what has been happening in the last year. Some things are personal, some things are work-related, but I'm really looking forward to hear about your main things that matter to you. So one best thing that had happened last year, and I probably will mainly speak about the UK, but probably that's the case for many other countries present on this call, that was the government investment and support. And I know that's kind of, we can argue a lot about that. There has been their pluses and minuses, but for example, in England, for the first time ever, we saw the investment from the Department for Education into the cloud platform, into devices, educators training, IT admin enablement. And maybe it was not fully smooth. It was shaky sometimes, but it's definitely a great step from the government, specifically in England, but also in other countries. A thing that we must not lose, I think that's an investment. And here I'm talking about the investment of your time, your passion, your stressful days and nights trying to make it work for your schools, but also the financial investment in devices, training, platform, etc., etc. So it's kind of how to use the things that we have invested, especially the efforts to benefit in future in post-pandemic world, if this one will happen soon. One thing that we must not do ever again, I think, one thing that I've heard a lot and definitely experienced myself as a parent is not to run parents training for the new tech. So not to do ever again is not to run parents training. So it means that if we are ever in similar situation, or if we are introducing a new tech in the school, like parents should be involved because they struggled with the new tech definitely much more than their kids. The next one from me, what we must improve. It's basically related to the second point as well. It's around the awareness around benefits of the tech tools. So many of you have put a lot of efforts and brought a lot of new tech tools into your schools. What's actually, it's important to understand what these tools can bring into the post-pandemic world. It's not just about the video conferencing, right? The video conference is probably the simplest part of the tech that you have brought. But if you have Google Meet, if you get Google Classroom or other Google tools that you use, what's out there? How you can introduce it into your teaching and learning in the offline mode and in-class mode, and actually increase the efficiency and maybe increase the efficiency of some school processes. One thing that learners want to continue, I'm sure all the learners want to just go back to school and have normal in-class education with face-to-face contact with the teachers and their classmates. I think that's probably nothing more than that they want the most. What educators now love. This is not something that I can comment with confidence. I'm not an educator, but I just can imagine that probably educators now love that they can teach regardless the circumstances. If another pandemic happens, something will happen. Someone gets unwell or whatever, something will happen with the school building. I think teachers definitely have a confidence now that they can teach, they can do what they have chosen to do in their life without too many barriers. What educators must adopt? I think educators should not forget about hybrid and blended learning. And when I think of that, I think the last year was also a great way to learn how to make education more accessible to maybe students that didn't have the access to the education, but now can have it through hybrid and blended learning. So it's about embracing what we have learned in pandemic and actually plugging it into the other areas that existed even before the pandemic, trying to solve the problems that we had before. And the next one, what made me smile? Okay, so this week, my daughter's school, my daughter is 5. She is at the reception. I live in London, and she goes to the state school here in London in the area of Wimbledon. And the school chose to use Google Classroom and Google Meet and other Google tools as their remote learning platform, which I was incredibly pleased about. I can't hide that. But a teacher in year 4 in their school has done a video, like a music video. It was a remake for, this song, like I Will Survive. I don't know what's the title of this song, but I'm sure you all recognize it. And it was a song about how all of the teachers, and that teacher in particular, in the end survived the remote learning. And it was so heartwarming. It was so great. And it featured a lot of Google tools. And in fact, it literally, the remake text of that song said, we will survive because we have Google Meet. So that made me smile a lot. And it's great that it came from, teachers' own initiative, just to showcase the joyful moments of remote learning. What made me mad? That's constant cooking and washing dishes and cleaning, and being 1 year stuck in a house, did make me mad. And the cooking bit was probably my least preferred one. And the last one, what will you do next? It's kind of maybe my advice to the education sector, to schools out there, is just to assess what has happened and to assess the efficiency of remote learning, what we have done well, what we could have done better, and then most importantly, how we can use all of this knowledge in future. So it's important to pause and just to digest what has happened and how to take this forward. So I've been talking a lot. Thank you so much for listening to me. But actually now I would like to ask you to share your reflections. Feel free to choose one of the 10 things here, maybe thing number 11 or 12, whatever is more, it's closer to you, and share via a chat, or feel free to raise your hand using digital hand, unmute yourself, and share with the group. And I'm really looking forward to hear your reflections. Thank you so much for the attention.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Anna. Anna, I've taken the decision to do it via some Jamboards, because I thought it might be really nice to collect people's thoughts about those 10 things and what they thought might be useful. So I've put 2 Jamboard links in the chat. I did organize them by A to M and N to Z, but then thought, actually, I don't know which is which. So the top one is N to Z and the bottom one is A to M based on your surname. So you should be able to go in there and actually add a little post-it note to offer a thought about, of those 10 things, you know, what's your reflections on those? So I think it would be a really lovely thing for us to collect. So by all means, use the chat, as Anna said, yeah, or unmute and offer an audio in feedback, or to use the Jamboard. So you've got multiple routes to the same solution.
Paul, do you want me to keep the slide here, or shall I?
Yeah, would you mind? I've put all those things onto the Jamboards, actually, and 1 per slide. There's 10 slides on each. It's just because we're limited to 50 people per jam, I had to spread it across 2 in case there wasn't enough space on 1. So I thought it'd be spread the load a bit. So yeah, they are on the jams, but if you could leave it on the screen so they can flip back if they want to look, that'd be lovely. And we'll leave a few minutes for you all to go and have a look at the Jamboards and start to add things. I can see things coming in already. It's fantastic. Which is great. I love Jamboards. It's such an immediate feedback, isn't it? You get an immediate response. It's a really great thing to do. Yeah, we've got plenty of people on both. Yeah, it's interesting. So some things coming up in the chat that I'll feedback out as people are writing in the jams. Yeah. So many, it's James saying, number 6, so many teachers enjoying classroom without discipline issues. It's interesting, isn't it, when the students are on their own in their own space, that you don't get. I think sometimes you get slightly different. Some schools are reporting different discipline issues, aren't they? You know, sharing the meet link and all sorts of things like that. But not so many with lots of people, I think. Hi, Darren. Nice to see you.
Paul, can I just add into that, because that was my comment, was that the fact that it's that long arc of time now. We haven't just been in lockdown 3, but the fact that we've seen boys and girls in school, then at home, then back in school, then home. And actually it's helped moderate the worst behaviours, because the kids at home, the worst behaviours that aren't coming out there. So it's been really helpful. It's been, I think, valedictory for the really good teachers who just felt they were perhaps fighting always a battle in the classroom. And now it's been moderated by the other kids saying, shut up. You know, it's been lovely to see that going on.
Excellent. Yeah, absolutely. That's really good, isn't it? Indeed. Yeah. And important that what you said, that it's actually, it's about that classroom management tool. Just because it's online doesn't change that. And it's good that we're seeing people looking at how they manage that as well, which is great. Thank you. Here we go. So the question then is, how long do I leave these to run now?
Only for a few more minutes, Paul. But Anna, thank you very much for kicking off today's sort of 200th virtual staff room, and such a wonderful set of sort of questions. I posted the questions before you actually gave your answers, so I'm sure they're out there causing lots more people just to think about those things. They are a great set of questions. So thanks for that.
No worries. So happy to be here.
So go on, Paul. Why don't you start sharing some of the Jamboards? People can continue.
I'm gonna take over the sharing, if that's okay, Anna. Now we're gonna let your slide go. So if you want to unshare, I'm going to share. Click the wrong button. We'll start with N to Z. Let's go to slide 1. Got this fantastic. Come on. Here we go. So hopefully you can see my screen there.
Yeah, can do, Paul.
Excellent, good. So you can read these. I'll pick out some of the smaller text ones because they might be trickier to read. There's one at the top that says long-term validation of the school's approach to using tech. Absolutely, yeah. I mean, we're delighted that the adoption of tech has come on such a long way, and it's been a great testament to the resilience of all educators worldwide that they've been able to do that. It's been fantastic. And staff having to get to grips with Google Workspace again about adopting the tech, yeah, which was fantastic and gave them confidence, which is really important. Absolutely. So with under what we must not lose, yeah, that upskilling. Absolutely, there's a real risk, isn't there? People might just turn back. Our great friend Lou Mycroft coined a phrase a little while ago in one of the virtual staff rooms: "No go backery." So we definitely don't want to lose all the land we've gained in the tech world in terms of students. Yeah, and actually, yeah, PLNs have been absolutely crucial in all of this, haven't they? Yeah, going to places to support, and we hope that the virtual staff room has offered a little bit of that support for your PLNs. We've been bits of your PLN in that process, which has been fantastic, which is excellent. Moving on, we've got lots to cover here, so I'm going to go on here. What we must never do again, have another pandemic. Whoever wrote that is absolutely, yeah. When schools go to school when never go to school when we're sick. Yeah, it's really important, isn't it? Regardless of the pandemic, we've done it before, haven't we? Returned too soon. Yeah, the bottom corner, really small print. Force teachers to be in school, college when they're not teaching. We can be trusted to work from home. Yeah, that whole thing of, presenteeism, is that really the way to manage your staff anymore? And we've had some big names like David Price talking about, it's maybe rethink how I manage all my staff and what the implication for that might be. So I'm looking at that. I think you can see all of those. Communication with students, yep, still really important. Of course, it always has been, but this has really brought it home how important it is. Continuous hybrid delivery, absolutely. With one we can't see there. Learning from home a bit. We are having conversations with organisations who are applying to have partial remote delivery, even when they're fully returned in September, which is really interesting. That is now a thing because they've seen the value of it. Yeah, some hybrid learning experience.
Maybe more like a flipped learning as well, right? Might work much better now with all the tech available.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think with staff now are much more empowered, aren't they? I think we've still got a little way to go to make sure students have got an equity of access at home. And we've certainly raised that up as an issue, haven't we, over these last few months? But I think we're getting there, and it's getting better. Work-life balance, absolutely. Yeah, no endless hours in the car traveling from place to place, which is really fantastic. Parents' evenings, of course. Parents' evenings. We've got lots and lots of people talking about how valuable kind of the online parents' evening has become, and how easy it is to manage, and how efficient it is, which is great. Learning from each other, collaboration is the key, absolutely. And we've seen lots and lots of that. Design thinking, things that made me smile. Some of the breakfasts the students have. No school expulsions of students for over a year. Wow, that's fascinating. Yeah, many, many awesome people on the call. Yeah, good. It is great to have everyone here. Thanks for that, Dave. Watching my son grow. Gosh, that's a big one. You forget, don't you? They're busy growing at school, and you just see him come home when you say, "What did you do at school today?" He says, "Nothing," which is what my kids used to say. And it's this instance by some to continue to try to replicate bricks and mortar environment, yeah, virtual environment when you know it's not working for the kids. Absolutely, yeah. Some staff infantilized by the crisis. Dear me, that sounds terrible. Yeah, so there was a training need there for that's for sure. Yeah, I love the cooking. Yeah, it has driven me mad at times when I've got to clear up the kitchen after my children when it's their turn to cook. That bit drives me mad. But actually, I enjoy my cooking enormously, actually. And we've had some great food and lots of fresh food. So it's been a real plus, much less convenience food since we've had the time. It's been great. And finally, for this one, retrain as a counsellor. Excellent. Go on holiday. keep the downtime. Continue to teach staff how to embrace ed tech. Excellent. Good. I am going to fly through the other one if that's okay, because I think these are some fantastic things that we've seen here, which is really good. Enjoy time working from my garden. Much better during the first lockdown than the current one, though. Yeah, it's a bit chilly out there, isn't it? Although I've just put my seedlings out to get a bit of sun. Spending a lot less time traveling, community saving, shed loads of time. Absolutely fantastic that we've been able to do that. Meetings that can be emails, remote meetings, and not always needing to be face-to-face. IT skills that staff and pupils developed. We said the same. Adapt to new challenges.
Paula, sorry, I don't think you're sharing the second jam. We're still.
Oh yeah, sorry. Thank you. Yeah, share this. I saw the button and clicked, but missed it. There we go. Should be on the second jam now.
Yes, we can see it now, Paul.
Thank you very much, Anna. Yeah, bring your own device in the classroom. Absolutely. Interestingly, I wonder what will happen to the use of mobiles, because I suspect there's been a much higher increased use of mobiles in this lockdown period, and how schools might change that, if schools will change their views based on their experience during lockdown. Our ability to adapt to new challenges. Absolutely. Lockdown has driven the use of EdTech forward tremendously. Excellent. Never again should any educator just stand at the front of the class and talk. Yeah, that kind of glass wall that we create at the beginning of the front of the school that assumes that's the teacher space and that's the student space can be actually really, it can often be a big behavioural issue. I think get in the thick of it with the students makes a much bigger and better experience for all. Yeah. Take Wi-Fi for granted. Absolutely. Everyone would, I think before this lockdown started last March, we would all nod sage, wouldn't you, about the digital divide, and we knew there were students out there that didn't have the access that we thought they had, but I think we thought there were far fewer than there actually were, and it's really driven home that there's much bigger issue about equity of access to technology than we actually originally thought, and we are beginning to address it now, which is great, including from the government stumping up with lots and lots of new devices for schools, which is great to see. But we've got a way to go still, I think, to continue to use technology within the learning experience to enhance diversity and reach out to wider learning styles. Absolutely. Others want to continue more creative opportunities for assessment and development. That's been really important, hasn't it? That it's not been death by worksheet, that we've looked at a whole lot of EdTech tools and broadened the range by which we make them reflect on their own learning. That's really important. Google Classroom, an invaluable revision source. I'm not just saying that because Anna's here. It's a pretty important tool, isn't it? It's made a huge difference. Sitting exams online, not paper-based. It's interesting, the whole thing about trusting teachers more might be a good outcome that we get out of this, but let's hope. Perhaps there's some cynics laughing at me now, hoping realizing that might never be the case. Children's ability primary ages to use G Suite and increasing recognition of how capable they are. Yeah, so that will be reflected over time when they'll be much more capable coming through, and secondary schools can take all sorts of assumptions because they've had those skills and had to use them very extensively these last 10, 11 months. Excellent online behaviour of the pupils. It is amazing how well behaved the pupils are. Yet there certainly are one or two issues, aren't there? But on the whole, I would say the vast majority of people have had excellent experiences. Yeah, online assessments, absolutely. Willingness to try new things. Yeah, there are some reluctance still, but we're getting noticing a big uptake of lots and lots of new tools, which is really great to see. What made me smile? Yeah, increased rate of Google Meet features. Smile that Chromebooks have overtaken Macs as the second most purchased type of computer. Seeing our incredible customers manage to continue to bring amazing teaching and learning through difficult times. Finding out what a Jamboard is. Apologies. In finance, not tech. Excellent. Is that key to saying that? They're great keys. Absolutely. Jamboard's a really useful tool. Yeah, you'll see a lot more use of that over the next month. Yeah. Things that made me mad. Government incompetence. I'm not going to go there. My microphone doesn't work, and other blatant fibs from students. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's the modern equivalent of my dog ate my homework. A list of names, you can read those for yourself. It'd be impolite for me to name names. Seeing some of my daughter's online learning when she is not being stimulated. Yeah, it can be enormously frustrating, isn't it? If it's just a straight, trying to push a worksheet electronically and that's all that they do, that's all they get. Yeah. What will we do next? Stop, pause and reflect. Yeah, and hopefully this is the first of many sessions of reflection that we will be offering to the community, hopefully. Improved kit, touch screens, Chromebooks for all users, not just staff. Headphones are must for each user as well. In my last school, I never won this battle, but I fought really hard to include headphones in the equipment list that students had to bring to school. They had to buy PE kit and rugby boots and all the rest of it. And I said, well, can't they just buy a cheap set of earphones so I haven't got to manage them? And there's no issues about me cleaning them all the time. But I never quite won that battle, but maybe now we will. So there we go, a quick fly through a selection of some of those reflections. Excellent, thank you very much for that. So Rachel, I'm going to let Rachel in. Thank you very, very much for that. Let's then return back to audio, as it were. Any other thoughts from anyone about any of the things that you've seen? Can we use the hands up if there's something you want to contribute, so I can then manage those as they come in? So a talk to any of those 10 points, or 10 things ... of your own that you might want to add in from anyone at all before I pick on someone. Okay, so I'm looking at the faces I've got in front of me. I've got a couple of FE faces. I'm going to give you a chance to think. I've got Charlie in front of me. I've got an early year primary Matthew from Crossthwaite. And I've got Pete as a primary practitioner, and I've also got Peter Horner from Barton Peril. Sorry, Peter. So I'm going to go to those people, if that's okay. So in that order, I'm going to start with Charlie. So any thoughts that you want to share out loud, Charlie?
That's right. Pick on me, Paul. Pick on me.
And I know I can trust you. So you're thoughtful, reflective.
No, I came on a little bit late. I just missed the beginning, which was a bit of a shame, but great. Anna, thank you for your little presentation there. It was great. Yeah, some big takeouts really for me. For me, it's like staff have definitely turned a corner. We're at this lovely place now where they're looking at technology through a different lens now. So I think we're at the part of the year now where people just want to get things finished for the year already, but they're thinking about curriculum design in a slightly different way already for next year. So for me, I can feel that shift in culture. So that's been a real positive.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that. So then I'm going to go over to.
Paul, can I add something here?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
It's reminded me of an interesting fact. So basically 2019, so a year before pandemic, BISA has been doing this very interesting research with Multi-Academy Trust in England. And there has been like a lot of questions. It was, of course, like related to the IT and tech, because it was BISA research. But one of the questions were, so, we all know that Multi-Academy Trust and the education sector in general are often struggling with, finances and financial resources, and they always need to set their priorities, where to invest, how to put the money, right? And the question was like, if you need to save money, and all maths had to save money, on which items would you save it? And the most popular answer pre-pandemic was on IT. I just want to put it out there that this was just a year before pandemic, that IT was clearly neglected. Of course, everyone had to make choice. I can't blame maths for that, but just how quickly things can change, right? Due to circumstances. Just want to put it out there.
Yeah, it'd be fascinating to see if they do the same thing now, what they would get, wouldn't it? They'll be able to start saving money soon on anti-back wipes, because they won't have to buy so many soon. So then the second one on the list, I've given a little bit of thinking time to, was Matt from Crossthwaite, who's a primary head teacher. Any other thoughts about 10 things ...
Just on the investment, Paul. So we're a Google reference school. We've got one-to-one devices, but all the talk of devices in schools getting better and things misses the big point that there's thousands of schools in the country have no network, have no infrastructure in place. So you can give them all the devices they want. If the staff haven't had the CPD, if there's no decent wireless, and if they're all reliant on an old IT suite with 15 to 20 10-year-old desktops in it, they're missing the point. So investment is not just buying devices. And I can name you loads of schools in Cumbria that have virtually no infrastructure, and Pete will probably tell you about ones he goes to as well. So the LGFL doing great stuff, government giving out whatever 1 million devices or whatever the figure is not enough.
No, absolutely. Yeah, it needs to be supported, doesn't it? That's the key thing. Just chucking money at a solution doesn't necessarily solve it.
It just goes back to like formula capital. Schools get formula capital that you can use for infrastructure, but 5-10 years ago it was significant amounts. Now you're looking at a couple of grand a year for some small schools. It's nothing.
No, absolutely. Excellent. Thank you very much for that, Matthew. So I think the next one on my list was Peter from Barton Peveril. It's a sixth form college. Any thoughts for you, Peter? Any 10 things ... that you would add to the list?
Yeah, I mean, the thing which stood out for me this year is just everyone's willingness now, so this is teachers and students, in kind of trying new technology. I was thinking back to, I think it was just over a year ago, I ran a screencastify session, let our staff know. I only had about 5 people turn up. A couple of months later, when we were just about to go into lockdown, I was given the opportunity to train all of our staff. I literally got to train 200 people on Screencastify, Google Meet, Classroom, and everything in the space of a week. It just took a pandemic to make it all happen. But now, since then, that's really helped kind of raise my profile and the IT profile within the college, and we've got a much stronger relationship there with staff, and they're more willing to kind of approach us about new tools and want to try, and also listen to us about the kind of things we're suggesting out there. So yeah, that's been really good.
Excellent. Sorry, Peter, to keep you on the spot. Can I ask a second question? Are you noticing a change in the types of questions you're getting now then? Were they originally, where are the buttons that are pressed and how does it work? And now they're about application within a learning environment. Has it changed? The question
there's more of that. Yeah, so that's one of the reasons why I ensure all of my team do the Google Certified Educator level 1 and 2, so that they know these tools and how to use them and how to use them for learning. But yeah, the other questions we get more now are resolving tech issues from home, which is even more challenging when you can't just go and look over someone's shoulder to see why something isn't working. So that's probably taken up a bit more time now.
Yeah, absolutely. Excellent. Thank you. So I noticed I've also got, my next pair, I'm going to go to Dave Leonard and to Ben Thompson, who are on completely different continents. And welcome to you both. So Dave's a Director of IT in the Multi Academy Trust here in the UK. And Ben Thompson did work for a Multi Academy Trust here in the UK, but now works as an education consultant over in Bangkok. So the question to each of you, we'll start with Dave, is any additional 10 things? And I'll come to you after that, Stuart, who's just put his hand up. Dave, to you.
Additional 10 things.
Or to add to those you've already mentioned.
Okay, yeah, I'm more comfortable with that. Unless, ironically, one of the things that I put down on one of my 10 things was the ability to adapt to change, and I'm just demonstrating that I can't do that in having to come up with an 11th thing. But I think that's one of the key things for me. What I believe has happened is that as educators, the floor level has risen. So the people who are at the cutting edge are still at the cutting edge. They're still doing the same thing, but there used to be a huge gap between those at the cutting edge and those who were reluctant to engage with technology in any way, shape or form. I feel that gap has closed tremendously as a result of the pandemic. And I think the other thing that I'd like to add, the thing that we need to do next, as we look at the slide that's on the screen, is the thing I put down was to stop, pause and reflect. But I think that we also need to just be aware that we have some great opportunities as a result of this. We need to look for the silver linings in the cloud that has been COVID. And when stopping, pausing and reflecting, we need to think about what we can take forward, what lessons can we learn, and how can we make education better in the future.
Excellent. Thanks very much, Dave. So what are the lessons you feel, which of the 10 things kind of hit home most for you, Ben, and relate most to your experience in Bangkok?
I think Paul, Dave's exactly right. The baseline has come up so much, whether it was kicking and screaming, whether it was carrot, whether it was stick, whatever. But teachers' baseline has sort of gone north quicker than sort of teacher baseline has ever done, probably in education history. And we're desperately trying to get away from this Victorian sitting in rows, teacher at the front type stuff that a lot of schools were heading back into almost. So I think the silver lining is that we've managed to almost break free from that image of the classroom that a lot of schools were careering back into. I think that for me, the 10 things we must not stop doing is something that I would, I really think we need to see. There's a lot of schools that we talk to that kind of, we're enhancing as opposed to transforming, using tech. And I think we've seen transformation in the last year, technology used in a transformative way rather than just an to enhance learning. And I'd really, a couple of schools we're talking to almost putting all the stuff that they've been doing for the last year just back in the cupboard in case of emergency, break glass again, for the next snow day or the next pandemic, we'll start doing all this again. And I think, the message that we're trying to get to schools is, look, you've got to pick the great things because, education has changed, and you for all the pain that you've gone through, pick or find take time, like Dave said, to pause and reflect and get those things that have been working well, get them into modern day teaching. Let's not lose this opportunity to slip back into that Victorian era of, certainly in primary schools, of sitting in rows and barking back our times tables. So 10 things that we shouldn't stop doing now.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Ben. So we're going to go to Stuart and then Anna, who put their hands up, and then I'm going to also ask James, who's an independent principal of an independent school, and then go over to the States to ask Stephanie if she's got anything she wants to add. So we'll go to Stuart next.
Okay, guys, I'm just picking up what was said earlier before about infrastructure in terms of Wi-Fi and devices and such like. For us now, I'm a year 6 teacher, IT leader at a primary school, and what I've noticed is, as great as the collaboration has been and the PLNs and stuff like that, there's still a vast amount of primary schools in the UK that have no digital vision or any idea of where they go from here. In our school, we're all right because, I know what I'm doing and I know where to go, but I'm literally talking to schools down the road who've ventured into this online stuff for the first time, and the danger is they're going to stop or they have no idea what to do next. And we need to somehow address that, not just locally but nationally as well, because it's just such a big issue. If we go through this again, I think the digital divide is going to be still there, but it's going to be a different digital divide because schools won't have done enough in the meantime.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks very much for that, Stuart. Got a big thumbs up from Pete Rafferty there as well. Anna, I think I might have lowered your hand for you. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, just super quick one. I was listening to Dave and Ben, and it made me want to share like a quick tip, especially for people who have not been using Jamboard before today. So one of the exercises that we do at Google in my team, maybe twice or 3 times a year, it's called Stop, Start, Continue, where we have a Jamboard with 3 pages, 1 stop, start, and continue, and everyone in its own time just puts things that they really don't want to do anymore because it's, I don't know, it's not efficient or annoying, it doesn't worth it. Continue and then start. So maybe this is just like a tip that you can run with your SLT teams, and also let your SLT teams experience Jamboard.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that, Anna. Yeah, we're doing all we can to raise the profile of Jamboard, and we're great fans of it, Sammy and I. So hopefully they'll start to make a difference. And Charlie, when you all get back there with a whole fleet of them, it's going to be all jams of all flavors. It'll be fantastic to watch. So James, you've been sat there waiting patiently to say your piece.
First, I just really want to pick up on Stuart's point there about the digital vacuum at primary level. Ian and Paul know my work locally here with primary schools. I continue to work, and I've just got 3 or 4 more schools to pick up in September when there's a chance to, and they have nothing still, and it's that complete gap that they don't even know where to start, and the idea that they're waiting for their laptops is such a shame. But speaking much more positively, the big thing we've loved is for the first time at at secondary level, teachers are seeing the approval at first hand of parents who begin to realize just how blooming good teachers are. I think it's, for many primary schools, it's been the same as well. If you've been online, the parents just beginning to realize, wow, breathtaking stuff that adults are doing. And the fact that primary schools have often had that love of parents for a variety of reasons. Honestly, secondary schools may have had love because my rugby team's doing well or we're doing this, but never really had a love of what's going on in the classroom. We've had an outpouring since January, simply because of the sheer lockdown of all the parents at home and just seeing and becoming members of our school community. It's been something we'll never ever lose, and that's why I love the idea of carrying on doing the occasional screen days at home to help parents see just the lovely stuff that their kids can do. I think it's the thing, it's not just the teacher, it's the interaction of teachers. You're right, Paul, about the jam boards and so on. I mean, I've got my wife, as many of you won't know, is a great history teacher. She's 67. She uses Jamboards all the time, and the fun she gets from the kids' liveliness, and the parents can see that. And I just celebrate. I've got a community of 100 secondary staff who just have got a fan club of 1,000 parents or 2,000 parents, which is lovely. And that's the first time ever. You know, my wife retires this summer knowing that parents know how good she is firsthand, and that's been something she'll never ever forget, which is a real positive from really quite a negative time, isn't it, for people otherwise?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's driven home how valuable and how skilled good educators are. I mean, that whole process, hasn't it, to lots of parents who didn't before fully understand the value that they bring to for their children's development. Okay, so we said then we go over. Sorry, James, do you want to say anything there?
Just to say, I also love the Twitter spats that people like, as you know, well-known poets and the like on Twitter, just raging at the machine of adverbs and the like. That as an independent school, we just love writing our own curriculum and having creative writing at the heart, and having visitors being able to visit this way and actually have the fun of carrying on those virtual visits and not having to worry about the detail. I understand there's some argument about whether it's right or wrong. I just think it's nice that we've been able, despite the pandemic, to invite visitors in who've been free and willing to come. That's a lovely thing as well. Been a very generous society this time round, we found.
Yeah, excellent, lovely. Thank you very much, James. So we said we're going to go over to the States to Stephanie now. So anything else you want to add, Stephanie, to the mix?
I mean, so much has happened. I feel like this year has been like 7 years in one. And one of the things that I think has happened is the collaboration. And I hope that continues, because our teachers have been collaborating a lot more than I've ever seen. Yeah, I know you too, Darren. And our teachers are meeting together to plan together because they couldn't do it all. And so they had to delegate. They had to learn those different skills of collaborating and working with other people. Also, I would not be here if it wasn't for like the pandemic. Like, I wouldn't have known you guys in the UK and became really good friends with some of you, or worst enemies with some of you. So it's been nice, like, being able to reach out on Twitter and then connect with a global group, because I mean, Global GEG would not have started if it wasn't for COVID, I don't think. I mean, it might have, but I don't know what it would have looked like. And I think also with the collaboration piece and that global is, I had friends, you know, in China and Japan that were like, this is coming to the States, so you better prepare. And if I didn't have some of that like preparation, like, and the language that they were using, I don't know if I would have been ready to help my teachers. So having that global collaboration has been so helpful, and I would have probably quit if I didn't have it.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Stephanie. There was a news article on the local news here that really struck a chord with me, of a young adult trained to be a medical professional who'd come through the care system here in the UK. So she left the care system at 18 and has literally spent the whole year at university, because she's got no home to go back to, of course, because once you've left the care system at 18, you're deemed to be an adult, and she's in university lodgings, and she's kind of spent this massive, great big university building on her own, more or less. And it really made me sad that she'd had that. I mean, she was an enormously strong young woman, that she seemed to be in reasonably high spirits, but I was really struck by that. So we're thinking then about those adult learners. I'm going to come to Sammy and Alex and ask about, are there reflections about any of those 10 things that relate specifically to adult learners? And then I'm also going to go to a couple of our partners, to Laura and to Andrew, and ask, are there any things that you've noticed, any changes to conversations as a result of the pandemic that you think are noteworthy? So we'll go with, should we go to Sammy and then Alex first?
Oh, thanks, Paul. Yeah, I think for our adults, something Anna said about assuming parents know how to use the tech certainly became true of our adults. And there was a complexity to the adults too, giving things a go. They were fearful of technology, and I spent maybe 2 or 3 weeks just saying, you can't break it, just have a go, it's okay, it's fine. But we couldn't survive without Jamboard, because I teach maths. It's so visual, we all need to be able to be on there together, we all need to be able to be finger drawing on our touchscreen devices, and so that for me is the biggest thing, is that we had an assumption of the digital divide. We had an assumption of the digital skills of our learners, and we were actually way off. It was much more serious than we first anticipated. But we've got to a really strong place now, and my adults personally fully I teach them asynchronously now, and that would never have been possible had we still been in the classroom face-to-face environment. So yeah, big changes for us in adult education.
Excellent, thank you. Anything else you want to add to that, Alex?
Well, for our learners, especially, it's not just digital barriers, but also the language barriers. So it's a double pressure on them. So we were lucky enough. We gave 500 Chromebooks away for our students to support them to access their learning. As Sammy said, so first 2 weeks they really struggled, but then again they picked up the skills quite quickly, and the teachers managed to adapt their resources as well to suit the needs. So a lot of our learners, so we've got nearly 3,000 learners, they do not have Chromebooks or touchscreen devices. They have mobile phones, so it was another challenge. So we couldn't use Jamboard for many of them. So because Jamboard is not very mobile friendly, especially when you move around with the fingers. But in general, like the use of G Suite or Workplace now for education, it was just the use went over the top.
Yeah. Excellent, lovely, thank you, Alex. So to Laura and Andrew, two partners we work with a lot. I'm aware that I've just been very kind of reminded we're getting close to time, so I would like you to contribute if that's okay, but try if you can to be succinct, if that's okay. Should we go to Laura first and Andrew second?
Yes, hi Paul. Paul, I think what I've noticed in this last year is how small the world is. I think someone else mentioned that as well. I've actually been contacting Sammy separately about not an issue, but something that we need a wee bit of help with maths within our house. And I'm able to reach out to the likes of Sammy. Now, I know it's not to do with work, but I would not have known Sammy if it wasn't for this. I wouldn't have known that there's online help. She sent me some things that she uses with other adult learners, and it's actually going to relieve so much stress in this house, being able to reach out to people on Twitter, LinkedIn. Like there's 42 people sitting here now that I know that I can reach out to at any point if it's regard my personal educational journey or the educational journey in work. And I think that's the biggest thing for me, the relationships and the ability to rely on everybody in this group. And I genuinely mean that. But I don't know if you want to shout Paddy there. Paddy joined us late. He might have actually something to do work related that he wants to mention.
Paddy, I'm gonna cut you up if that's okay, and go to Andrew, as I said, because we're getting close to time. But thanks very much for that, Lola. It's really good.
No worries.
Andrew, anything you want to add?
No, I think lots of people have covered all the key things that we've talked about. I mean, I'm seeing a real, like we mentioned, a real lift in the skills of teachers, and now an increasing focus on student training as well, which is great to see. So those two things are really sort of shifting up. So that's good to see happening. And I think the skills of teachers are shifting. The conversation has moved, and the focus is now on not how do I do this, what button do I click, how does this thing work, to a bigger focus on teaching and learning and what the outcomes are. I think that's been one of the real positive shifts that we've seen in the world of training teachers.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for that. Excellent. Yeah. And so I'm going to hand over to Johnny, our friend and colleague who we originally met at International School in Basel, to round up the session in a moment, if that's okay. But there's just a couple of questions that occurred to me in the preparation of this and the way to mark this. We started this on March the 23rd, and as Andrew just said, it was a question of rabbits in the lights of headlights at first, and how do I do this, and what button do I press there, and what do I do for that? And actually, that's already began to change very significantly. And as we went on through, the 10s, 20s, 40s, 50s of virtual staff room and so on, we had to then change because we were being asked different questions. So we started to do subject focuses, which was really great to see that they wanted to have solutions that were specific to the phase, whether it was independent or state or early years or FE or universities or student agency or wherever it happened to be. And then we developed even further when we actually started to get requests for demos of products that would answer particular questions, which is when people like Andrew and Laura and all the other people that are online, who I'm not going to mention all, started to help out with product demos, which is fantastic. And we've had innovation projects in here. And then there were two questions that I asked myself. Yeah, why are we still here? And it sounds a bit corny. We're here because we love to help people. And that's what this does brilliantly. If they've got a problem, people pop in and we actually help them. And that's all that we need to get from it. And that just makes life perfect for us. And the second question was, how long will we be here? And the answer to that is even easier, is as long as you keep turning up. Yeah, that's the answer. So with that, many, many thanks to everyone who's contributed and helped. Many, many thanks to the brilliant C-Learning team that I work with that allowed me to do this. Many thanks to Ian, whose idea it was. Everyone thinks it was mine. It wasn't. It was Ian's brilliant idea. He just let me run with it. So many thanks to Ian for that. And I'm going to hand over to Johnny with a nice little activity just to finish off, another moment for us to reflect.
Okay, great. Thanks, Paul. Could you stop sharing your screen now? Let's have a look at everybody's faces. Thanks. Okay, just to wrap up, I have no idea if this is going to work or not. Paul asked me to actually draw a picture for everybody that encompassed all the silver linings that we've been discussing for the past 9 months or so. And I tried and couldn't do it. So I came up with this idea instead. So bear with me. Can you please think each of a number between 4 and 52? Have you got that number in your head? Good. Go to the chat box and you will see a link to a folder. If you click the link, go and find the associated picture to the number that you just chose. Give me a nod if you're following. Lots of nodding, great stuff. Okay. Could you download your particular chosen image, please? To a place where you'll be able to find it again on your computer. Okay, having pressed the download button, back on your Meet screen with everybody's beautiful face in front of us, on the control bar at the bottom, you have 3 dots on the right-hand side of that. And if you click that, you're able to change your background. I'm guessing that the majority of us are going to be able to know how to do this. But if you click to change the background, there's a plus sign. And you should be able to select a new background. Do you know what? Having said that,
background sharing's been switched off. It's the meeting.
My district doesn't open that up.
Yeah. Paul set up the meeting without that facility available.
I'm going to reach into the screen and throttle Paul because we tested this the other day.
It's actually on people's own domains. So it's a domain setting for each person's domain. So Paul, it's not Paul's fault. I'll get Paul out of trouble.
Thank you, Andrew.
Each individual school can turn it on and off in the admin settings. So if the school you work for has turned it off, you can't do this step.
Yeah, Andrew, I can assure you my school domain has got this. I've been using it all day for other reasons. So it's only in this meet I'm not able to use it.
So Johnny, I think it was going to look awesome. And I think we will invite everybody back to do it. So I'm just going to come in and steal 30 seconds because I know that Paul. Everybody knows Paul is a bit of a wild and wacky sort of musician, and we haven't asked him to actually sort of come on and sort of give us a rendition. But for everybody yeah, everybody knows it. Now that there is a very traditional way of thanking some people. So provided those that are left with us, and Simon, stop drinking. You can't sing while you're drinking, right? So the refrain, for he's a jolly good fellow, but accompanied and adjusted. Oh, Paul's a jolly good fellow. I want us all to just sing now after 3. So 1, 2, 3. For Paul's
all of us.
Yeah, welcome, Paul. You're absolute star. So thank you for all the enthusiasm and energy that you bring to these sessions. Sort of long may it continue. Okay.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for that perfect example of why latency is a bad thing. Thank you very much. Thank you very much to Anna, of course, for prompting the conversation in the first place. It was excellent. I just noticed Tracy at the bottom, who had a quick conversation with my colleague Chris this morning, has joined us. Lovely to see you, Tracy, again. I'll be over for a coffee soon. So thank you very much, everyone. And you know where we are. Back to the normal link starting tomorrow. Yeah, and there'll be more information about it.
Thank you, Paul, and everybody. It's been quite enlightening.
Lovely. Thanks, Rita from Argentina, for coming along as well. You be safe and look after yourself down there.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.